The space station was busy and loud. People from many places worked and lived there. New arrivals came often, but today something different happened. A ship landed quietly, and from it came a girl. She was not like the others. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were big and green. Her hair was silver and shone softly. No one had seen anyone like her before. The girl walked slowly through the station. People stopped and looked at her. Some whispered to their friends. Others turned away and kept walking. No one came close. The girl did not seem afraid. She smiled gently, but her smile was sad, like she missed her home. Jack worked in the station's cargo area. He was not important, just a simple man who liked to fix machines and help where he could. He saw the girl from far away. Jack was curious. He had never seen an alien like her. Most people avoided her. They looked scared or angry. Jack felt a strange feeling inside. He thought maybe she was lonely. He watched her from the corner. The girl stood near the big windows and looked outside at the stars. She looked small and quiet. No one spoke to her. No one said hello. She waited, but no one came near. Jack wanted to help, but he was shy. He knew people might think he was strange. If he talked to her, then the girl turned her head and looked at Jack. Her green eyes met his. She smiled again. This time it was warmer. Jack felt his heart beat faster. He took a deep breath and walked toward her. The girl did not move away. She stayed still and watched him. Jack stopped near her and said, "Hello, my name is Jack." The girl's lips moved, but no words came out. Instead, she raised her hand slowly and reached toward Jack. Jack looked at her hand. It was different from a human hand. It was slender and had a soft glow. Without thinking much, Jack held her hand. It was cool, but not cold. The girl smiled wider now. Jack smiled back. For a moment, no one spoke. The noise of the station seemed far away. Jack asked, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl nodded. She tried to say something, but the words were strange sounds Jack could not understand. Jack said, "It's okay. I will help you." The girl's eyes showed relief. She squeezed his hand gently. Some people watched them from a distance. They looked surprised and confused. Why was Jack talking to her? Why did he take her hand? Jack did not care. He wanted to be her friend. He looked around and said, "Come with me. I know a quiet place where you can rest." The girl smiled again and followed him. They walked through the busy station. Jack told her simple words like food, water, and rest. The girl learned quickly. She pointed to the words and made soft sounds. Jack took her to a small room. It was empty but clean. He opened a package with some food and water. The girl looked at the food with interest. She tried a small bite. Her eyes lit up. She smiled at Jack. Jack smiled too. He felt happy. For the first time, he was not alone in the big space station. After a while, Jack asked, "Where are you from?" The girl's face became serious. She looked down and then up again. She said a word slowly. "Nira." Jack said, "Nira? Is that your name?" She nodded. Jack thought about it. "Nira, I will help you find your home. Don't worry." Nira smiled softly. She looked at Jack like he was the only friend she had. Time passed, and Jack stayed with Nira. He showed her how to use simple tools. He told her stories about Earth and space. And Nira listened carefully. She showed Jack pictures from her world. Her planet was blue with green forests and tall mountains. Jack wanted to know more. He asked many questions. Nira tried her best to answer. At night, the station grew quiet. Jack and Nira looked out at the stars together. Nira held Jack's hand. Again, Jack knew this was the start of something new. He did not know what would come next, but he wanted to stay with Nira. He wanted to help her feel safe and welcome. The others still did not approach. Nira, they stayed far away, but Jack did not mind. He was glad she smiled and took his hand. Jack and Nira stayed close. Each day, Jack tried to learn more about her world and her language. Nira tried hard to speak the new words Jack taught her. They used simple signs and sounds. Sometimes they laughed when they did not understand each other, but their friendship grew strong. Nira was shy around others. The people on the space station still kept their distance. Some looked at her with fear. Others whispered about her strange appearance. Jack saw this and felt bad for Nira. He wished people would be kind one day. While Jack was fixing a small machine, Nira stood nearby watching. She moved slowly and carefully, afraid to cause trouble. Jack smiled and said, "You can help me if you want." Nira looked surprised but nodded. Jack showed her how to hand him tools. She listened and copied his actions. It was not easy, but she did well. Jack said, "Good job, Nira." Nira smiled and made a soft sound that meant, "Thank you." After work, Jack took Nira to a small garden inside the station. The garden had green plants and bright flowers. Nira touched the leaves carefully. She said, "Home." Jack realized she missed her planet's nature. He picked a flower and gave it to her. Nira's eyes sparkled. She held the flower close and smiled. Jack and Nira sat on a bench. Jack talked about Earth's forests and animals. Nira told stories about her planet's tall trees and blue rivers. Though the words were hard to say, Jack felt he could understand her feelings. Suddenly, a group of people came near. They looked at Nira and whispered loudly. One man said, "We don't know if she is safe. She looks different. Maybe she is dangerous." Jack stood up. He felt angry. He said, "Nira is my friend. She is not dangerous." The people looked at Jack but did not say anything. They walked away slowly. Nira looked at Jack with gratitude. She took his hand. Jack squeezed it and smiled. That night, Jack and Nira talked quietly in the small room. Jack asked, "Why did you come here, Nira?" Nira looked sad. She said slowly, "My ship broke." "I'm lost." Jack nodded. "We will find a way to fix your ship. You will go home." Nira's smile returned a little. Next day, Jack took Nira to the station's tech center. The room was full of machines and tools. Jack introduced her to some engineers. They looked at Nira with mixed feelings. One engineer said, "We will try to help, but we need time." Nira watched the people work. She stayed close to Jack. He showed her some controls and buttons. She was curious and wanted to learn. Days passed. The engineers worked on Nira's ship. Jack spent more time with her. He taught her simple games and songs. Nira laughed more and looked happier. One afternoon, Nira suddenly touched her chest. She looked at Jack with a serious face. Then she moved her hand toward a small device on her wrist. Jack saw the device blink. He was surprised. Nira pressed a button and showed a small screen with lights and symbols. Jack said, "Is this your ship's control?" Nira nodded and tried to explain. She showed him how the device worked. Jack learned quickly. Together, they fixed small problems on the ship. The engineers were amazed at Nira's knowledge. They asked Jack, "Where did she learn these things?" Jack smiled and said, "I don't know, but she is smart." Nira felt proud. She looked at Jack with a warm smile. One evening, Jack and Nira sat near the big windows. Stars shone bright in the dark sky. Jack asked, "Do you want to stay here until your ship is ready?" Nira nodded. She took Jack's hand and smiled. The next days were better. Some people began to talk to Nira. They asked simple questions. Nira tried to answer. Jack helped with words and signs. The space station felt less cold. Nira's smile made people curious and kind. Jack saw a new hope, but not everyone was happy. Some still feared the alien girl. They watched her from far away. Jack knew he had to protect Nira. He promised himself he would keep her safe. Nira looked at Jack one night and said softly, "Thank you." Jack replied, "You are not alone anymore." The bond between Jack and Nira grew stronger. No matter what others thought, they knew they had each other. Jack woke early. The station was quiet. He looked around for Nira. She was already awake, sitting near the window. The stars were still bright outside. Nira smiled when she saw Jack. She stood up and held out her hand. Jack took it, feeling happy. To be with her today, Jack planned to help Nira learn more about the station. He wanted her to feel safe and strong. They walked slowly through the halls. Jack showed her the small shops and places where people worked. Nira watched everything with wide eyes. She asked many questions, using words and signs at the stations. Library, Jack showed Nira a book with pictures of Earth. She touched the pages and smiled. Jack told her stories about the trees, animals, and oceans. Nir pointed to the pictures and said softly, "Home." Jack understood. He wanted to bring her home someday. Later, Jack took Nira to meet some of his friends. They were surprised to see Nira. Some smiled, but others looked unsure. Jack said, "This is Nira. She is my friend." His friends nodded and said hello. Nira smiled shyly. She tried to speak but found the words hard. Jack helped her. He repeated her sounds and smiled. Soon, the others started to talk to Nira too. Nir felt happy. She began to feel like she belonged. One day, a problem came to the station. The power went out in one section. Machines stopped working. People grew worried. Jack knew Nira had knowledge about machines. He asked, "Can you help?" Nira nodded. Together, they went to the control room. The lights were dim. Nira looked at the panels and buttons. She touched a screen and pressed a few controls. Jack watched closely. After a few moments, the power came back. The machines started again. People around cheered. They looked at Nira with new respect. Jack smiled. He was proud of his friend. Nira looked at Jack and said, "Help." Jack nodded. "We help each other." From that day, more people talked to Nira. They asked for her help and advice. Nira felt stronger and more confident, but some still feared her. They said she was different and strange. Jack stood by Nira. He said, "Nira is good. She helps us." One night, Jack and Nira sat near the stars. Nira took Jack's hand. She said slowly, "Thank you, Jack." Jack smiled. "You are not alone." They looked at the stars, dreaming of a future where they could be together without fear. Days passed, but not all was calm. Some people in the station still felt uneasy about Nira. They whispered behind her back and spread rumors. Some said she might be dangerous because she was different. One afternoon, while Jack and Nira were walking through the station, a small group of people stopped them. Their faces were stern. One man stepped forward and said, "You don't belong here. This is not your place." Nira looked at them quietly. She held Jack's hand tightly. Jack stood tall. He said, "Nira is my friend. She helps us. She is not a threat." The man frowned and said, "We don't trust her. She is an alien. We don't know what she can do." Jack shook his head. "You don't know her. Give her a chance." The group did not say more. They left slowly, but their eyes were full of doubt. Nira looked at Jack. She whispered, "Scared?" Jack nodded. "I know, but I will protect you." Later, Jack took Nira to a quiet room. He wanted her to feel safe. He showed her how to use a small communicator device. It helped them talk better. Nira smiled. She felt better with Jack, but the worry in the station grew. Some people asked the leaders to send Nira away. The leaders called a meeting. Jack and Nira were invited. At the meeting, the leaders asked Nira many questions. They wanted to know if she was dangerous. Nira answered as best as she could. Jack helped her. He spoke for Nira and told the leaders about her kindness and help. The leaders listened carefully. They saw how Jack trusted Nira. After a long talk, the leaders said, "We will give Nira a chance. She can stay, but she must follow the rules." Nira nodded. She was happy but still nervous. Jack smiled. "You belong here." Nira looked at Jack and said, "Thank you." After the meeting, Jack and Nira worked together to show the people she was friendly. They helped fix things and shared stories. Slowly, some people began to change. They came closer and smiled at Nira, but not all were kind. Some stayed away and watched carefully. One day, the station faced a big problem. A fire broke out in the engine room. People rushed to help, but the fire was strong. Jack and Nira ran to the engine room. Nira used her knowledge of her world's technology to help control the fire. She found a special tool and used it to stop the flames. Jack helped her. Together, they saved the station. After the fire was out, people cheered for them. Many saw Nira as a hero. Jack was proud. Nira smiled at him. She felt she was finally accepted. That night, Jack and Nira sat together. They looked at the stars through the window. Nira took Jack's hand. She said softly, "Thank you for staying." Jack smiled. "I will always stay with you." They looked out into the dark space, feeling hope for the future. After the fire, the space station felt different. People were kinder to Nira. They saw her as a friend, not a stranger. Jack was happy. He saw the change in how others looked at her. Nir worked with the engineers to fix parts of the station. Her knowledge of machines helped a lot. Sometimes she showed Jack new tools from her planet. Jack was curious and excited to learn. One day, the station faced a new problem. The oxygen system began to fail. Air pressure dropped slowly. People grew worried. Without fresh air, everyone would be in danger. Jack and Nira went to the control room. The engineers worked hard, but the system was complex. Nira looked at the controls and listened carefully. She pointed at a part of the system. She said a word in her language, and Jack watched closely. Jack helped the engineers understand her ideas. Together, they fixed the oxygen system. Air pressure returned to normal. People cheered. They looked at Nira with respect. She was no longer just the alien girl. She was a hero. Jack smiled at Nira. She smiled back shyly. That evening, Jack and Nira sat together in the garden. The plants and flowers made the place feel like home. Jack said, "You are very smart, Nira. You helped save the station." Nira looked at the stars outside the window. She said softly, "I want to help. I want to belong." Jack took her hand. "You do belong. We are friends." Days turned into weeks. Jack and Nira grew closer. They learned about each other's worlds and dreams. One day, Nira showed Jack a small box. Inside were stones from her planet. They glowed softly in the dark. Jack was amazed. He asked, "Can I keep one?" Nira smiled and gave him a small blue stone. Jack held it carefully. "It was special." Jack said, "I will keep this always." Nira looked at Jack and said, "Friend." Their friendship was strong. They trusted each other deeply, but life on the station was not always easy. Some people still doubted Nira. They watched her closely, afraid of what they did not understand. Jack stood up for her. He said, "Nira is one of us. She is our friend." Nira felt safe with Jack by her side. One day a new threat came. A group of pirates tried to attack the station. They wanted to take control. The station's defenses were not ready. People panicked. Jack and Nira worked quickly. Nira used her alien technology to help the defense systems. Jack helped organize the people. Together, they fought to protect the station. The pirates were pushed back. The station was safe. People cheered for Jack and Nira. They saw how brave and strong the two were. Jack looked at Nira. He felt proud and grateful. Nira smiled and said, "Together, the station began to change. Humans and aliens started to live and work side by side. Jack and Nira dreamed of a future where everyone could live in peace. They held hands and looked at the stars, ready for whatever came next. The space station was quiet in the early morning. Jack woke to a loud alarm. Something was wrong. He rushed to the control room. The screens showed danger. A large asteroid was moving fast toward the station. People began to panic. The asteroid could damage the station and hurt many. Jack looked at Nira. She was calm but serious. Nira said, "We must stop it." Jack asked, "How?" Nira moved to a console and started to press buttons. She used her alien skills to control the station's defense systems. Jack helped her. He followed her instructions. Together, they aimed powerful lasers at the asteroid. The beams hit the rock, but it kept coming closer. The asteroid was too big for the lasers alone. Nira said, "We need more power." Jack ran to the engine room to help the engineers. They worked fast to give more energy to the weapons. The station shook as the engines pushed harder. The people watched nervously. Nir focused on the controls. She found a way to use the station's shields to push the asteroid away. Jack helped her move quickly. The shields glowed bright. The asteroid hit the shields and bounced back into space. Everyone cheered. The danger was gone. Jack looked at Nira and smiled. She smiled back. Later, the leaders thanked Jack and Nira. They said, "You saved us all?" Jack said, "We worked together." Nira nodded. Together strong. The people on the station began to see that aliens and humans could be friends and protect each other. Jack and Nira grew closer. They shared stories and dreams. They hoped for a Future where no one was afraid of differences. One night, Jack asked Nira, "Will you stay here with me?" Nira looked at him. She smiled softly. She said, "Yes." Jack took her hand. They sat together looking at the stars. They knew the future was uncertain, but they would face it together. Their bond was strong. It was a new beginning for them and for the whole station. The space station was calm after the danger passed. Life slowly returned to normal. People smiled more and worked together. Jack and Nira walked through the halls. They held hands and talked quietly. They were happy. The station's leaders made new rules. These rules helped humans and aliens live peacefully. They said everyone should be treated with respect. Nira was no longer the lonely girl. She was a friend and a helper. People asked her advice and came to her for help. Jack looked at Nira. He saw her smile, bright and warm. He felt lucky to have her in his life. One day, Jack and Nira sat by the big windows. Stars shone in the dark sky. Jack took Nira's hand. He said, "We have come far. Together we made a new home." Nira smiled. She said softly, "I am not alone." They dreamed about the future. They wanted to explore space, learn new things, and help others. The bond between them was strong. They knew they could face anything as long as they were together. Jack looked at Nira and said, "Thank you for trusting me." Nira squeezed his hand. "Thank you for taking my hand first." They laughed softly. Their hearts were full of hope and love. The station was no longer just a place to live. It was a home for many. A home where friendship and kindness grew. Jack and Nira stood and looked out at the stars. The universe was big and full of wonders. Together, they were ready for the next adventure. The end.